So in the LMS, you can go to week number 12 and you can access this adding intents to recycle view day one file. So in there, we will be going this through the steps of creating the intents, um, which will be enabling us to create a new activity once we click a certain item in the screen. So I think I will show you a demonstration of such kind of an intent. So this is the recycler view that we have created. So I think I have uploaded how to create this recycler view in the GitHub. So you can access that and you can create the same thing like this. So these list items can be displayed using a scrollable list item. So a recycler view like this can show a list of items. Each of these items can be clicked and we can enter data into this each view. So we can add data into these list items. So once we add the data, we will be able to see the data once we click on each of the items. So I clicked on the first item, which is relevant to the person one and age one. So I can include a profile picture of that person. I can include bio regarding that person. So likewise, we can add data to each of the views and we can uh, like display it like this. So we will learn about how we can develop this. So the steps of following will be given in this file that I have included in the LMS. So you can visit that also. So let's resume from where we stopped in the last class. So in the app, as of now, we cannot click into each of these items, and we cannot get any information from clicking these items. So in order to enable the new activity, we need to first create a layout file that will be used to show the information of the new activity. I hope it is clear to you. We need to create a um, new XML file that will show us the information of the new activity. So we have to create a new layout file called activity details.xml. So we will create that. In the activity details.xml file, we will create in here in the layout files. So you can create one. So activity details.xml. So I will get a message to asking me about adding the file to the Git. So I have, I think, added the rest of the project to the GitHub. So because of that, they are asking this, and I can say that I want to add, so that that newly added file also will be added to the GitHub folder, the local repository, and then I can push it to the remote repository. So in this new layout file, we can create the layout for the new activity that we are going to use for the new information that we are going to show about the contacts, each of the contacts. So we can bring in text views and we can place them in the locations that we prefer. So we can, stack them in a certain manner that we prefer. We want a certain manner, we can do like that. So in here, actually, I will be using 3 text views that will be used to show the information about the person, and it also give the information about the title of the page, and then give the image of the person. So image of the person can be given using image views. Then I can use a text view to show the biodata of the person. All these image views and text views have to be constrained properly such that their locations are defined explicitly. So when we place them, we have to make sure that the constraints are correctly defined. So we need to define the constraints or the margins of all these views. So we can define the default margins using the default values that are coming once we add these views. So for the next view also we can do. Yes. So we can see that the message errors have uh, gone. So now we can actually have a better chance of getting this layout correctly defined. Apart from that, we can also update the constraints in the XML code. We can define the constraints using codes also in the XML file. So if you face any error related to the constraints, you can define the constraints using the codes in the XML file also. So currently there are no errors, so we can go ahead. Apart from that, we also want to define the colors for the screen also. We can define the background colors using the Android background command on top of the XML file. So in here we have some predefined colors. So the predefined colors we have defined under the colors file, colors.xml file, under the values folder in the resources. So in here we have these colors that are previously defined. We can add more colors also if you want to this list. So we can add those colors. We can add those colors in this format. We can give the name and we can give the hex number of that color. So whatever the color you prefer, you can add those colors in here. Currently there are black, white, blue, black, and tan accent colors. So I'm going to be adding those colors as background colors to the screen that I'm newly creating. So in here, I'm going to give the background color as the blue black color. So then I'm going to give the colors of the text views. So Android text color I can give using the text color I can give using the colors that are defined in the color.xml file. So I can call the colors using this command, add color / tan accent. Likewise, I can also define the text size. Text size I can define using different text sizes in DP value or density per pixel value. So I define it as 32 dp. I can also define the text style or the style of the text. I can define the style of the text as either bold, italics, or uh, any, you know, bold, italics. So I think uh, there was another style also. So you can use any kind of style that you prefer. So the same thing can be done for the other text views also. So the text views properties, attributes can be changed. So I'm going to give the color as tan accent for each of the text views. The size of the text I'm going to give as 20 dB, and the style I'm going to give as italic for the second and third text views. So in here, I also want to change the ID of each of the text views. So the text views are currently named like this. However, the IDs are not that related to what we are trying to show in the item. So it's better if we can rename the text view names. So we can do that by going into, we can do that in the XML file itself. So now you can see that the color, background color, and the kind of the style of the text have changed. So in here we can give the ID of each of the text views according to what we like. So the title we can give as maybe TV title. So we can give so once we give the new ID, it will ask us to adjust the XML code also based on that. So we give it as yes. So we want to refactor in all the places where it is mentioned with the new ID name. So we are going to change the next text view ID also. So depending on the information that we are going to show there, we are going to put the name. So in there, I'm going to put the name as TV name. I can also put it as TV person name. So once I do that, again, I will refactor with all the, so I think I have already given that name previously, so I have to give a new name, because in this activity I'm defining the same variables again. So I mean, I hope you can remember that, like earlier also in the first activity or in the first screen, we had a set of list items. In there also we defined activities, we defined variable names for each of these view items. So these view items had several ID names. So we cannot use those same ID names for the new activity that we are creating in here. We have to give unique names for these each of these IDs, each of these views that we are defined here. So we have to give unique IDs to each of these views. So we'll say that it's going to be TV age. Um, However, it's going to be TV new age, I will say. It's because it's a new activity. So I'm going to give it as TV new age. In here also I can give as TV new name. So the third text view I can give as TV new bio something, new bio. So I have now given IDs like that to the text views. For the image view also I can give TV image, new image, I will say. So it's in the new activity. So I have now given the IDs to all of the items. So up to this point, I can design the layout file, and the code also will be updated based on the changes I have made in the design. So IDs will be changed to new IDs that I have set. So now I have made the changes in the layout file. So the layout file is done. Then what I have to do is I have to have added all this. I have to make sure that the constraints are defined properly for each of the views appropriately, such that the each view will be um, uh, located explicitly in the screen. So each view can be correctly located in the screen. As a third step, now what we need to do is we have to add the required resources, um, to be shown in the new activity. What I mean by the new resources is that we have to give the data, um, the new data to be shown in the new activity or the new screen. So the new screen will have to show new data, right? So those data has to be given to the software. So we have to include the data. So to include the data, we will use um, we will have to do different changes in our code and in the resource files. Okay, so we have to include the data, the new data that we want to show in the resource files, which are available in the resource directory under the different files under the resource folder. So we can include details of the new data inside the files in here. We'll be basically using the strings.xml file in here under the rest folder. So the strings.xml file will contain all the strings that we define commonly the for the project. So for the app, so we define strings commonly in here in the strings.xml file, and anybody who wants to access this information can access it by calling this string values from the code. So from the Kotlin files, we can call these string arrays as we prefer. So we are going to define this define the string arrays, an array of string in here, such that we can use the string array somewhere in the Kotlin codes. So we are going to define the string array by the name called biodata array. We are going to define a string array called biodata array. In here, we are going to define each of the array items using the item tag. So we are going to give a tag called item, and then we are going to define the string data of each of the items in the array. So the string data can compose of some kind of a sentence. So this sentence will refer to the biodata of each of the persons in the contact list. So we are building a contact list here in the Android Studio. We are building a contact list in here. So the data that refer to the bio of each of the contact person will be given as a string. So we can give it as a string in here. So it can be any kind of string that you prefer. You can say something about the person. So we will take the strings that we already have as the information available regarding that person. So the first string element will correspond to the first person in the list, right? So this will correspond to the person one. And then likewise, the next items in the array will correspond to the next people in the list. So we can get them all stacked in here as an array, and then we can close the array. We can close the string array using the tag string array. So now it is closed. Now we have defined the string array, which includes the biodata of each of the persons that we have in our contact list. So each of these items correspond to the biodata of each of the persons in the contact list. Then afterwards, we have to, now we have defined the biodata. So we have to now we have the images also stored in the directory. So we have to select some images and we have to store those images in this directory. So we have to have some images of people and then we have to get that stored in here. So you can select any, any images of people for this. So, I mean, I'm going to take some random images that are available in the internet for this case. So I'm not going to, try to find the exact images for people, but you can find some, some random images, I believe. So for the moment, I will take images which are actually having, copyrights. So I will take those images for the moment. I will name the image using a specific name. So person one, I will save as person one. Likewise, it will be easy for me to save the images like that. So I will take 3 images basically, and I will, uh, save them. So I have all those images stored that I got from the internet, and I will put those images into the folder, which is the drawable folder. So in here, I can drag and drop these images into this folder in here. So these three images can be added like this to the drawable folder. So these images will correspond to different images like this. I will take these three images. So these image names also has to be stored under strings.xml file. So for doing that, I will store the names of the strings in the strings.xml file. So can save those. Person 1, person 2, person 3. Likewise, I can save the names of the strings like this. So now we have stored the images and images in the drawable folder, and we have stored the biodata as strings in the strings folder. Then we have also stored the names of the images as strings in the strings folder. So with that, we have got the all the resources collected in the resources folder. Now what we have to do is we have to update the data class such that the data class that we have currently can accommodate new data types. So the data class that we have previously defined was only defining the name and age of a person. So the data class that we defined as person has only two attributes, name and age of a person. In here, we are going to add two more attributes, which are basically the bio of a person and the image of a person. So the bio of a person we can store as string value. So we are going to save it as string, and we are going to save the image of the person as a int value. The image ID of the person or the image ID of the person will be saved as an integer value. So we will be saving the bio of the person as a string value and the image of the person as the integer value. So the image ID of the person will be saved, which will be in integer format. So like this, we will be expanding or extending the data class that we previously defined such that we can include more details regarding the person that we uh, defined for each person in the contact list. So for each person in the contacts list, we can define all these attributes. So we will be defining those attributes in here as well. So in here, there's an error in here because now with the updated version, the person has to have four attributes. So we have only defined name and the age currently. We have to define two more attributes, which relates to the bio data of the person and the image of the person. In order to add the biodata, we need to get the biodata array that we defined earlier in the strings.xml file. So we define the biodata in the strings.xml file. So we have to get those strings from that array into this person definition, right? Where we are defining the person. We are going to get that array by defining where the array is in the strings.xml file. So we have to first obtain the data array into this file. So for doing that, we can define biodata array in here, where the this variable will store the array list of the strings that give the biodata of each person. So the string list is available in under the resources folder, which right. So we have the strings array in the resources folder. We can use these commands to get the resources from the resources folder, and then we can access the string that we have defined using this r.array.biodata array command. So biodata array is the variable name that we have given to the string array. Once we have done like that, we can obtain this biodata array. Biodata array, once it is defined, you can access that biodata array through this from here. So biodata array, we can access whatever the array, whatever the element in the array. So we can actually um, get the necessary data from the array. So we can either define that as a separate variable, or we can directly get it in here as well. But I think we can define it as a separate variable first. So I will define it as a separate variable. So I can define biodata as getting value from the uh, biodata array. So get to null. There's a command called get to null, which means that the value that we get could be either a value or a null value. There could be a value there, or there might not be a value there. So there's a value, then we have to access the i-1 index in order to get the correct biodata of each of the person that corresponds to the ith index. So in here we are taking i-1 because the indexing of the array starts from 0. We want to get the first person's biodata, we need to access the i-1th index. So currently in the strings array, we have these items. So the first item corresponds to the 0th index. So when we are defining the biodata of the first person, we need to get the index that corresponds to the 0th location. So in here we are getting the biodata of the ith person by accessing the biodata array element with the index i-1, which corresponds to the person's biodata. Ith person's biodata can be taken by accessing i-1 index of the biodata array. So by doing so, we can get the string of the biodata of that specific person. We can include that in here as the third attribute of the person. So now we have biodata defined in here. So in here we have defined it as a string value. So in here, actually, I think I have not completed in here. So it should be get to null. Since it is get to null command, we have to define the condition that should suffice when it's a null situation. So if it is a null situation, then we have to give the biodata output as an empty string. So we have to give this command, which denotes the case where there's a null output from this array. And then what should happen once we get a null value is that we have to give us empty string in here. So once we have defined it like that, we can go to the next section. So now what we have to concern about is about the image. We have to give in here an image ID, right? So we have to give some kind of image ID. So earlier in here, I have defined it as image ID. So some kind of similar image ID we have to give in here. I will uh, denote the ID using another variable in here. So we will have to define that variable in these lines. So the resource ID of that image should be obtained from the images that are available in the resources files. So images can be obtained. The ID of the images can be obtained by accessing the ID of the resources files that that will give us the ID of that certain image. So we have to access the resources file and get the ID, get identifier. So we have to access the specific image, right? So we have to access a specific image. So the image name has to be given in here, the specific name, right? Specific image name has to be given here, and we have to give the folder in which it is available. We have to give the package name. So in here, we have to give the specific name of the image. The specific name of the image we have to give, so that we have given the specific names of the persons using this format. So the images of images of image names that we have uploaded into this roable folder has been named as person 1, person 2, person 3 likewise. We have named each of these image items using a specific format as either person 1, person 2, person 3. Because of that, we can define the name of the specific person using person $I, right? So by using this kind of a format, we can define each of the items name, or each of the images name. We can say that each of the image name should be person $I. Each of once we go from 1 to 20, we can go from person 1 to person 20. So in the resources files, we have defined the different names of the images using this person 1, person 2, person 3 format. Also, we have defined that the resource files name also we have defined. So in here it should be person 2 and person 3. So likewise, we have defined in several places the name of the image files that we are using, so that the the Kotlin files can access those resources. Once we call the resources from the command resources get identified, specific name of the image, and then we give the specific folder in which the images are available and the package name. Once we do that, now you can see that we can obtain the image ID using this command. Once you have image ID, you can input that image ID into this person attributes such that you define the ID of the image that should uh, that should be uh, corresponding to the specific person, right? So the specific person's image is given using the image ID. So image ID is the only thing we need to give. Once the image ID is given, the system will take the correct image using that ID. So by doing all this, we have now completed the part where we have included the data, uh, the new data that we want to add under each person into this database or into this variable called contacts. So the contacts variable will have all the information about each of the persons. So it will have all the information regarding each person. So details of biodata, details of the image will be included in there. So we have now come to this point where we have updated the contact list with the new data. New data means image data and biodata. So we have added the image data and biodata. Up to this point, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions up to this point? Any questions? Right? So, so now what we have to do is we have to forward the data to the new screen, right? The data is available in the contacts list, contacts variable. Data is available there. We have to forward that data into the new screen. The new screen we call as new activity. So we have to forward that data into the new screen. So for doing that, that data will be forwarded once we click on one of the items in the screen. Once we click on one of the items on the screen, the new data will be transferred to the new screen. So we have to enable this on-click listener function into the on-bind view folder in the adapter file that we have already created for the recycler view. So in the recycler view adapter class, we have with the contacts adapter class, we have the function called onBind view holder. So onBind view holder is the function that that will update the data for each of the view that is shown on the screen. So the onBind view holder is dynamically changing the data of each of the views shown on the screen. So the dynamic activity is done by the onBind view holder function basically. And then now what we need to do is that once we click on one of the items in this view holder, then we must be able to go to the new screen. So going to the new screen will be done by something called the intents, right? So intents is something that will be used as a function to go to the new screen, right? So when we are discussing about the intents, there are mainly two types of intents. We call them as explicit intents and implicit intents. Explicit intents means intent type which can be used to go to a new screen in the same app that we are creating. So in here we are developing an explicit intent. So implicit intent on the other hand is referring to a scenario where we are going to a new application, a different application or a different platform using this app. So it could be camera app or could be cam scanner, it could be Google Drive, it could be Google browser. Likewise, there could be other interfaces that we can access through this app. So that kind of new interfaces will be accessed using the implicit intents. So the implicit intents we will discuss later. Today we are going to discuss about the explicit intent mainly. So intents can be implemented in here. So in order to implement that, we need to define the intents in the contacts adapter class. So basically under the onBind view holder, we are going to define the the on-click listener function or the method. So in here we are going to consider the item view which is going to get clicked. So the item view which is going to get clicked will be considered, and we are going to define what needs to happen once this item is getting clicked. So if there's a certain item, that item will be accessed if it is clicked on. If it is clicked on, then the the intent will be created. A new intent will be created. So this intent will um, use the data that are related to the context of the screen, and uh, it will go to a new folder or activity file, new activity file called details activity. Okay, so it will go to a new activity file called details activity. So in here, there's a kind of a red mark coming, so which means that I have to import the class called intent. Once I import the class, it will automatically take the class into the file. So it had been imported in here. So the word context means the current location of the app, the current location of the application we call as the context. If we are referring to the context, that means the software will consider the current location of the screen that the user is using as the context. So the context will include all the information regarding the current view that the user is accessing. So that current view that the user is accessing is denoted using the context. So the context has all the informations related to the current location of the screen. Then details activity is the new file that the intent will access once the item is clicked. So the details activity has to be defined, and it will basically go to a new file or a new activity file. So we will see whether we can create that new activity file. It's going to create a local variable, but I need to create a new activity file. So in order to create a new activity file, I can look at the format of the main activity file, which is of the format of an activity file. So main activity file is giving us the format of an activity file. So what I mean is that we can actually use a similar format like this to create a details activity file. So once we are creating the details activity file, we have to create a new file. So for that details activity file, once we create a new file like this, we can add the uh, details of the activity file inside here. So in here, basically the activity file should contain different variables and different functions. So mainly we will add the onCreate function in there to get the main functions happening. In here, actually, I have got the previous commands that we have used in the main activity. I will just delete them for the moment. So in here, we want to adjust these commands such that the details to this activity will be coming from a layout file, which we defined earlier, which is the activity details file. And then we have this so we have to define this file as similar as to what is defined in the main activity. So in the main activity class, we have defined it as app compat activity, which means that it is related to how an activity should be defined in this application. So we have to define this function. So this will have all the details related to the onCreate functions and predefined commands such as set content view, for example. So once you have defined it like this, there won't be any errors appearing here. So once you define the onCreate function, inside the onCreate function, we have to define the set content view properly. We have to define from which file we will get the layout of the new screen. The new screen's layout will be coming from the activity details file. Activity details file is the layout file that we defined earlier for the new activity. So once we have that, now we can access the different information or the different data available in this activity details file, or we can obtain different data into this file. So do you have any questions so far regarding anything? Right, so we are uh, following the section on updating the onBind view holder in the contacts adapter class file. So in there we have set the onClick listener function, and then onClick listener function was used to define an intent uh, which will forward the data to the new screen. So now we have defined this set onClick listener function. Then we have defined this command where the intent will be defined. The intent will be defined in this manner. Then we will be creating a new Kotlin class file in the directory where the main Kotlin file is, with the name details activity.kotlin. So this file should be similar to the main activity class file. Then we will be going to the initial file, which is contacts adapter file. In the contacts adapter file, we have to define which data we need to forward into this detail activity file, right? So details activity. So in here, actually, I have not correctly, haven't correctly given the name of the file, so I have to rename it details activity, right? So should be details activity. So we can define the details activity class as a class. So we can remove the error that comes without defining it. After that, we can define the data that we want to forward through this intent. So we have to use something called the put extra function. So put extra function should be used to forward the data. So inside here, we have to define the variable name as a string, and then the value of the variable. So variable name of the data we will define as contact name, and we will forward the contact name of the person. So we have the contact name of the contact name, a variable already defined in here. So we can directly take that variable name and we can pass it on to this string value. Then we can define another put extra command, and we can define like the next variable that we are going to forward, which is the contact age. So contact age we can forward, which is the contact dot age. Likewise, we can define all the variables to be forwarded. So we can type, press Shift and Tab to go for the cursor to go to this level. So when we are writing code, we have to maintain a certain indentation from the rest of the code, so that we define the specific function, and we can separate out the function commands separately. So we can get this put extra command to forward multiple data. So the third data we are going to forward is the bio data of the person. So contact bio, comma, contact dot. So since we have defined bio as an attribute in previous main Kotlin class, right? In the main activity Kotlin class, we have defined in the data class that the bio is going to be one of the variables of this persons. And then in here we have created the contacts list using this this attribute related to the bio of the person. So the contacts variable will have the bio as one of its inputs. So the bio data will be there as one of its inputs. So we can directly obtain that bio data in here once we call that. And then put extra is used for the final variable, which is the contact image, or the image of the person. So we can obtain that by accessing the image ID of the person. So image ID is also an attribute of the contacts list. So we have obtained the contact variables using contact dot, whatever the parameter or the property of this object, right? So we can access the properties of this object by typing contact dot, whatever the property, so that what that variable value will be returned, and that variable value will be stored in the uh, string that we have defined. So the strings that we have defined are basically contact name, contact age, contact bio, and contact image. So for each of these strings, these variable values will be stored. So once those things are stored, then we give the command that the intent should initialize. So the intent should initialize by this command, the context dot start activity. Start activity, right? So related to the intent. So by this command, we can start the new activity based on the intent information we have given in the previous lines. So the context will be moved to this start activity, and the current location of the screen will move to the new activity. So by doing so, we complete the process of initiating the intent. So we need to have all these lines of commands to initiate the new intent. Once we have done that, now we are able to access the details activity file. In here, we can actually obtain the data that was forwarded from that contacts adapter file. So from this contact adapter file, we have forwarded some data to the details activity file. So the details activity file will now receive those data that was sent. So to receive that data, we will use certain commands. So the basic command that is used is get uh, extra, or get string extra, or get int extra likewise. So we have to get the variables, or we have to get the information and store them in variables. So the data that we obtain will be stored in variables. So we are going to store them in variables that are familiar to us. We are going to define new variables, and we are going to save the data that we obtain from the intent. So from the intent, we are going to get the data. So if we want string data, we have to say get string extra. So we will be getting string data from using the command get string extra command. Inside that, we have to determine what string data we are going to access. We have to call the variable that we have defined earlier related to the contact name. So the string that we first defined was contact name, so contact underscore name. So that string we can include inside this brackets. After that, we can define the next variable, which corresponds to the age of the person. So we can define a new variable to obtain the new data that is coming. So the variable that is coming is a int or integer. So it's going to be defined as get int extra. In here, we can define the contact age as the string that corresponds to the data. Then the contact bio will also be taken. Get string value extra. In here, bio is a string value, right? Bio of a person that we are defining is defined using strings. So that one we defined as contact bio. So if there's some kind of a string that is not identified, then that means we have defined it as differently in this folder. So we have to get the correct string, then we have to put it there. So if it is not identified, then some kind of error can be there. So in here, there's an error mainly because for the get int extra command, we have to define the default value that should be shown if there's no value for the contact age variable. So if there's no value when you're accessing this string, then the default value should be given in here. So the default value we will put as 0. So by doing that, we can remove this error that we get. Then we have defined the contact bio variable to obtain the details that are received through the intent regarding the contact bio variable. And then the last one is about the image that we are receiving. So the image variable I will define as profile photo. That will be the data we am getting related to the image. So the image data I will be getting as a ID, some kind of ID. So that ID will relate to some kind of integer. So I'm going to obtain the data using get int extra. So inside there, we are going to define the variable that defines the image. So contact image is something I think that we define. So contact image, I will take from the contacts adapter class and I will save it in here. So then I have to define the default value as 0. In here, I have not correctly defined the, the command. So that is the case. There's going to be an error. So like this, I have defined the variables that I use to store the values that are coming from the intent. So the values are stored under each variable that corresponds to the name, age, bio, and the profile photo of the person. Now that I have installed the values in a certain variables, the variables can be used to define the properties of the text views in the layout file. So what I mean is that now we have got the data in here into the code, but the values must be sent to the layout file. The layout file has text views, right? So we have the text views in here in the layout file. In these text views, we have to put the data. So we have to define some variables for each of these text views, and we have to equal those variables to the data that we received, right? So the new data that we received. So we have to define variables for each of the text views. So that text views I'm going to define using new variable names. So name text view, I'm going to define as uh, one of the variables that corresponds to the text views in the layout file. So I'm going to access one of the text views. So basically first I'm going to access the first text view, which corresponds to the title of the person, right? So I'm going to leave the title as it is. So in the activity details layout file in here the text view that I'm using to denote the title, I'm going to keep it static. So I'm going to give it as profile information. So by doing so, I will keep the name as it is, and therefore I don't need to update this text view. So this text view I will keep as static, and I'm not going to define a variable for the text view. So the text view that I'm going to change the value is the second text view, and the third text view, and the fourth text view. So the second text view is related to the TV new name. New name. So that one I will access, and that text view will be defined using this command into a variable. So there was an error because the correct variable type was not defined with the correct capitalized V. Sometimes if you don't correctly define the variable, then you will get an error there. So um, I'm going to define three variables for the three text views. Text views related to name, age, and bio information. So by doing so, I can now access the variables related to each of the text views. So now I'm going to update the variables with the text. But before doing that, I will also define the image view. Image view, I'm going to define as person image view. So this one can define. So the ID of the image view is TV new image. So TV new image I can use to access the image view that I have defined. That image view I'm going to uh, save it as a new variable, and that variable name is person image view. So now I can update the attributes of these variables. So I have defined them as variables because then I can access the different attributes of these variables. So the text view has several attributes, right? The text view has text, it has color, it has sizes and those things. Any kind of attributes of this text view can be accessed by accessing the variable that we are defining in here. So if I want to update the text of this text view, I'm going to say name text view dot text. So by doing so, I can update the text views text attribute. So I can update it with the new text that I want to update in there. So the value of the text will be in string format. So because of that, I'm going to mention that inside quotation marks. Then I can say the contact name of that person should be mentioned in here. So the data that I obtain in here will be given in here. So the data will be obtained and then that will be shown in here, and I will denote it within strings to make sure that it is a string that is returned from this command. Next, I can do the same thing for the age and the bio data as well. So I have defined the text attributes of each of the text views using these string values. So the values for the variables will come from the data that values will come from these variables. These variables will be defined in here. So the values for these variables come from the intent. So there are already values stored in these in these variables: contact name, contact age, contact bio, and likewise. So those variables will be included in here. So they will be returned as strings into this text views. Then you can also obtain the image view data or the image data. You can put the image data that that we want to put in the image view by this command. So set image resource using profile photo. So the profile photo uh, that we have here will be included as input data into this command. So in this command, we are going to access the image resource. So image resource will be accessed through this the ID that we are giving as the profile photo. So by doing so, we can access the image and we can replace the whatever the image view with the new image that we have put in here. So with that, we have now defined the data for the new screen. For the new screen, we have defined the data. So, so we will go back to the instruction sheet. We have come up to this point. We have defined these intents. We have defined the variables for the intents in the new screen, in the new screen file. Then we have defined the values for text views. We have got the text views and we have defined the variables for the text views. We have updated the text views using new data that we received. And then we have updated the image data also using the new data we received. So up to that point, we have done. We run this code and see whether there's some kind of error. And if there's some error, we have to debug the code. If there's some error in the code, we have to debug using log commands. We can use log.i commands to debug the code. Also, this can be used to identify how the code is running and the steps of the code. So the log I commands will help you to find the steps of the code, in what steps the code will be run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can find out the steps of the code. We have to see the running devices in here. So I think I earlier had another screen also running. So I will remove those, all the running screens. So yeah, so some kind of problem is there. So variables that we have defined in the contacts adapter class So I think I will be able to see the error in here. So as I said, I have to first like check whether there's some error in here. So I'm going to add some log I commands in here. So I'm going to call the tag. Uh, I'm going to define a tag to this file. So each of the files I'm going to define a different tag so that I can understand in what file the error is occurring, and I can try to find out the place where the error is occurring. So the tag in this file I'm going to define as a variable, private constant variable called tag, and the tag will be main activity in this file. So in here I can call this as tag. Then I can give some kind of string information regarding this specific. Maybe I will take it as image resources ID. Maybe some problem with the images is there in here. So I want to import the tag in for the tag. I have to import the log library related to log in order to show the log commands. So I have to import this library in here. So log library I need to import by pressing Alt Enter. So you can press Alt Enter and you can import the library related to the log. So by doing so, I can add log commands like this. So I will add a log command in here to check whether the command, this command is run once the app is running. If it is not run, then I know that this place has some kind of a problem. And then for each of the other files also, I will keep adding the log. I can give any name to this tag. In here, I will give the log command in here. So log.i means information. So it is giving some information regarding the current position in the code. In here, also I have to click Alt Enter and import the class. So log class must be imported here. So in here, I already have a tag defined previously. So that tag can be used. I'm going to use a log file in here to check Okay, I think I have added log commands. So I will run this and I will check the log commands that are appearing. So I will get the log commands like this. So I will check this, this crashing. It is going to a new screen, but there's some kind of crashing happen, mainly because of the images, I believe. So this is the error that I'm getting. So the error message is getting under log.e. Log.e command type. Okay, so I need to define, I have to, yeah, I have to define the new activity in the Android manifest.xml file. So without doing that, I cannot define a new activity in the file. So I have to define a new activity. Whenever I create a new activity, I need to define that in the Android manifest.xml file. So in here, there's something called activity in here, right? So similar to that, we have to define another activity in this file. And there we have to define that activity name as details activity. So activity should end in here. Activity should be created. So there's another error. Okay, so the image that I have given is too large. It's having a lot of bytes in there. So I need to give images which are smaller in size than this. So it's so because of that, I will have to replace the images with images such which are smaller in size. So this is having a large dimension. So do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask. So I will include an image with the smaller size. So sorry. So this is the new image that I have added. It's actually also having a high dimension. So I need to select the appropriate size and then upload that image. Then I will be able to access it like this. So we need to consider the size also. So if there's a you know some way we can actually control the size of the image. The controlling of the size of the image can be done in the layout file. Using the layout file, we can control the size of the image. So in here, we have defined it like this, right? The constraints are defined like this. So currently the screen is not showing the bottom part, right? So we need to get the biodata also shown in here for the moment, and then we have to get the code adjusted based on that. So in here we can define the image sizes and image height and sizes using this part. So we can maybe define it using some values for the height and the width. So the height and the width of the image can be adjusted, and that can be so by doing so I have reduced the size of the image. So by correctly choosing a suitable value for this image dimensions by trial and error, you can adjust the size of the image appropriately. So these commands can be adjusted based on the size of the image. So I think by that, I think I have discussed about how we can access another screen and how we can show information of that uh, person uh, once you access the another screen using intents. So about intents we have discussed. So there are many other things that we can do with the intents. So we can add new data into this list. We can add new list items using intents, and we can also uh, create an intent where we can include data into the screen. We can create new data into the screen by typing new data into the screen, so the user can enter data into the screen. So that part also is another like a addition to this intents. So I will discuss about those intent types in the uh, next session. So regarding intents, we have discussed about how we can create a new uh, activity or a new screen using intents. So, do you have any questions? So you can add your attendance. So I will give a quiz also, which will constitute of the questions that I gave to the interactive class last time, but I will give it again because at that time I have not really created the, I have not really taught about the intents. So because of that, I will give that quiz again. So keep in mind that I'm hoping to give the end exam with MCQ questions. So the questions that I'm going to discuss in these quizzes also might be useful once you are preparing for the end exam. So maybe you can look into that. So related to intents, I have discussed about two types of intents. Then those intents can be either implicit intents and explicit intents. Then the explicit intents can be used to go to another activity within the same app. Then we can also uh, uh, we can also consider uh, uh, the implicit intents, and the implicit intents are used to um, implicit intents are used to um, go to other apps in other platforms. So to go to a different interface, go to a totally different application, you can use implicit intents. So I will share the quiz with you once you're ready. So is there any person to mark the attendance? I think all of you have marked the attendance, so I will start. So if possible, please join into the quiz. So Shehan, can you mention your ID also? I can then easily allocate the marks. Otherwise, I don't know your ID. Right, I will start. Correct. So layout manager is the is the function used to determine in which manner the layout uh, layout of the screen should be um, you know uh, defined. So layout manager can be in different types. Could be linear layout manager. It could be grid layout, and likewise, there are different types of layouts. So depending on the layout that we define, the layout of the screen or the app will be determined. So when we are using recycler view, most of the time we will be using linear layout, which means that we can either scroll in a vertical direction or in the horizontal direction. So if you are using a linear layout manager, it can mean that the layout is defined in a certain direction. The correct answer is horizontal layout manager. Linear layout manager set to horizontal means you can scroll the view in the horizontal direction. So if you want to organize them in the horizontal line, then we have to define the linear layout manager as linear layout manager with the orientation set to horizontal. Yes, the correct answer is it's a false comment. So the recycler view adapter is basically doing binding of data to the views. So it is wrong. This statement is wrong. Yeah, the correct answer is it's true. So you can use intents to navigate to different screens. Yes, so it's a true comment. Explicit and implicit are the main types of intent that we can define. So they are the main types of intent. We can deploy them as explicit or implicit. So explicit means you are, uh, accessing another screen in the same app. Implicit means you are going to a totally different interface using the intent. Okay. So the correct answer is all of the above. So not only taking to another screen, it can also take the user to another interface. As I mentioned before, the interface can be camera, it could be Google browser, it could be another app in the phone. So different locations can be accessed through implicit intents. So all of the three statements in the first three statements are correct. So this is a correct comment. It can be used to explicit intent can be used to launch other activities within the same app. For debugging purposes. So most of you got it correct. Log messages can be used for debugging purposes. So the proper answer is this. Using the log messages for debugging purposes, and the third answer to display messages on the user interface means that in the UI, right? So in the UI means like in the UI of the app actually. So I think the second answer is more correct than the third one. So rather than displaying some messages, it is having a certain purpose, and one such purpose is debugging, and another purpose is actually showing errors in the code. So it will show warning messages and error messages. So those things will be shown. So it is basically used for finding errors and problems with the code. So not just messages, but messages that are helpful for debugging the errors and debugging the bugs in the code. So the information is the correct answer. So log.i refers to the information messages. So I can give log.i as commands in the code somewhere in the code in the app, and I can get information regarding that certain location in the code. So there are log.e commands which are used to give error information regarding the code, right? So I think we discussed about that when we looked at the log cat. So in here we have different types of log messages. So I type of messages are there, D type of messages are there, W type messages are there. Then error messages are there. So error messages are there. So error messages are given by E. So W gives us the warning messages, and then some debugging messages are also given using D. I is giving the information regarding that certain location in the code. So all these messages like give us information regarding the you know current status, and like give us the information regarding warnings of the system and so on. The correct answer is error. So log.e refers to error messages of the system. So I think with that I will end this quiz now, and also I will end the lecture. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, you are free to leave. So thank you for participating in today's class. So with regard to the Shehan, you have given the ID number. I will update your mark with the ID number. So thank you. So thank you for participating.